Hey everybody, and welcome to the appreciation build for Fred Henry. But before I get started on this, I want to show you something that I ordered for it, and it came in today, so I thought I'd start this build off by showing you what came in the mail for this. Now, I do have a lot more stuff that's ordered for this truck, and there's going to be a lot of customizing and everything else, so this is going to take a while, but it's for a more than worthy cause. It's well worth it for such a guy that can do some crazy stuff with some models, that is very friendly to talk to. But let me show you what I got in the mail. Now, I did open it just to double check to see what it was. Now, for the person that mailed this out, I ordered it on eBay, packaged it fairly well, but next time, or for anybody else that sells these and ships these out, make sure you leave a little bit of more room at the end of the envelope, because that's all the way in. Now, if I hadn't taken a guess at what this was, I could have just taken the scissors and chopped this right off to make sure they're packaged a little more. Now, if I would have taken the scissors and make sure your cardboard's long enough too, because see, this is what I got. Now, if I would have taken the scissors, like I said, cut that off, I would have cut that right off. Now, I would have been right pissed, and I would have been getting a hold of you. So anyways, as you can see, cardboard. Now, this is a very interesting envelope. Okay, look at that. Yeah, I'm sure you can tell me who that is. Let me know if you know down in the comments. But let's get this thing opened up here. We'll take a better look at them. But I do like this envelope. This is a pretty cool envelope. I don't know if this is a special envelope for decals, water slide decals. Let me know down in the comments if this is the way they would normally come or what, you know. Yeah, I'm going to keep that just because it's cool. So here we go. Now we got a little bit of a crease here, and that's because the cardboard didn't fit. So yeah, you really need to make sure that your cardboard covers the entire decal. I mean, the whole point of putting that in there is to prevent this from happening. See the crease in there? Now, lucky enough, I don't know if it's going to affect anything, but this is supposed to go on a car, and I'm going to be trying to modify it for a truck. So I'm hoping I'll probably end up using the red anyways, because the truck's going black, and I can paint the silver on the bottom. But lucky, and look how close that is actually. I mean, that's the two inner fender wells, two edges of the fenders. I mean, that's damn near bang on. I mean, that's wrong side, but still, you know what I mean? Like, by the time I actually bring this all the way down, I mean, I'd be pretty much bang on for the sides. You never know, maybe I will use that. But stuff that's for the, you know, the front and the back or whatever, I mean, most of this, that's why I'm thinking I'm just going to paint this stuff on, paint the silver stripe. Maybe, not sure if it's all one piece or not. I'll probably cut this red line off and use that on all of them. You know, I don't know yet. I don't know exactly how it's going to work. Now, what I do see here is they printed the Red Simpsons Racing. No, it's pretty cool. So instead of printing multiple colors, what they did is like Earls. You know, they took Earls, printed it black, but then they printed a yellow square beside it. Simpsons, it's red on clear, but then they printed white beside it. Same thing with the Holly. So that's kind of cool. You know, like you can see, like a lot of them did that. The GM, things like that. So I think it just depends on what you're doing with it. And I mean, that gives you a lot more options of what you can do, right? Like Monroso and stuff like that. That's pretty cool. I mean, that's a nice little feature. I think that it's got the Dale Earnhardt name, right? Which is good. Chevy symbol. So anyways, that's what that is. Let's see the other one now. This one off to the side. And again, this is in its own envelope. So this must be something special just for your water slide decals to protect them, I guess. I've never ordered decals before offline, so I don't know. So there you go. Number 3, GM Goodwrench. Now, these aren't perfect the way they're supposed to be. because I think there's different ways that it was done, but some of them had the big square on the end, and things like that. So I'll do some research. I may have to paint some stuff in, but yeah, so you got your roof numbers, you got your door numbers. So what I'm looking at is like normally what you would do is you would take your 3 and you would put it on top of the chrome, so you'd have your chrome 3. Now, there are some numbers where the 3 is white with the red outline, like just depending on what year it was and everything else. Things slightly changed depending on the year of the race and stuff like that, and what was going on for that race. So yeah, that's that. So if I decide that I'm going to go with the Chrome 3, like this one here is just silver. I mean, it would look good, but I might, because of other plans that I have for this thing, the way I'm going to paint it, I might do something totally different inside this 3. I think you guys are going to like it. So, but anyways, that's these things. So I'm going to put them back in their envelopes. All right. And I'll be back and we'll get started and show you what I've done already and some of the plans I've got for this thing. So see you in a little bit. So we're going to get started today on the Fred Henry appreciation build. And if you haven't seen the first video where I introduced this, go back and check it. I'll put a card up here in the corner for you, so you can go check that out before you watch this one. But here's what I'm doing. I'm taking a NASCAR chassis, and I'm taking a 76-ish GMC body, and I'm making my version of a NASTRUCK. Now, it's going to be my version of what Dale Earnhardt Sr. may have driven, probably a fancy show truck type thing, maybe one that they would have brought around to, different places to show off next season's truck kind of thing. So that's what I'm doing. As far as what I've done to the vehicle so far, just for mock-up purposes, I have put on the front suspension. I have put on rear suspension, but some of this is going to get torn off. It's just in mock-up, some of it's still loose, whatever. It's going to get torn off so I can do some better stuff to it. As far as modifying this chassis, first thing I did was mocked up the truck for wheelbase. If I get everything sitting where it needs to be, just like so, right about there, you can see that the tires and everything line up practically perfect for the wheel wells. Now I accomplished that by lining up the front cab, which I can't really change, but the box, I cut a 1/4 inch off the front of the box and I glued it to the body. That put me right centered with my wheels. Okay. Now from that point, to be able to get the body to sit down as far as it's supposed to or it needs to, I cut about a 1/4 inch off the back here, which wasn't very much, and about a 1/16 or so on the side, on both sides, and a little bit coming up the rear wheel well. And that was just so the body can sit down past it. On the front, I cut off almost a 1/2 inch off this air dam piece on the front. Now, to support the front end, I put this bar on. Now, this will get reshaped and it'll look nicer. And as you can see, where that front sits, it's going to sit right on it. It actually works as a filler, and I'll be building like a front bumper and stuff, but it'll be molded to the body like a NASCAR would be. And same for the back. I'll build a pan back here to cover that up. I'll cover up the taillights. Back window, it will be the back window, but I did cut out the back of the cab, as you can see here. I cut this out so that I can clear the floor. Now, as far as the body, other mods that I've done, I have cut out the inner fender wells, right? And I'll probably trim them up some more. I just cut them out far enough. And I will have to build, it's hard to show you here, but I will have to build the firewall to meet the floor down here. So I'll have to build it, get it sitting in the right spot here. I'll have to build it from here to the floor. Not a big deal. Now, considering that is all I've done to make this thing sit where it needs to sit, as low as it needs to sit. And you can see that the chassis is pretty much flush with the bottom of the body. You know, there's a little bit of adjusting to do, but for preliminary testing, I think that turned out pretty good. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to build up this engine, so I know that I can put that in there and I know where everything's going to sit. And once I've got that built, then we can start looking at where the firewall needs to be. And then from there, I can start putting in roll cage. Now I can use most of the cage that is meant for that NASCAR chassis. I will have to cut the top of the bars off. As you can see here, I'll have to cut the tops off and extend it up a little bit higher and extend this to match the angle of the A-pillar here. But as you can see, roughly that's where it would sit, and you can see what I'm talking about. You can see where the top of the door bar is like too low, so I need to extend it up. And then you can see the angle of the windshield post, it's too laid back. So basically I'm just going to cut it off right here, right across here, and I'll make a whole new one that fits the design of this. Now, of course, doing that, things like this piece here, which would normally fit right across here, like so, all right, I'm going to have to extend this bar up higher and this bar so that everything works out properly, because once I raise this up higher, this one is obviously not going to work. So that'll be at a later date. I want to get this engine in first, and so I can figure out where my firewall is going to sit. I'll probably make some sort of stoppers and stuff for inside so that, you know, the body doesn't slide back and forth all the time like it does right now. As you can see, it kind of moves around. I've got it marked right where it needs to be centered, and probably adjust the body because I think it has to come up a little bit in the back, not much. The back will be covered, but you'll see the two bars come down and through like they do in the NASTRUCKs. So I'm going to get to that, and that's where I'm at for this. So I'll be back in a few minutes. Okay, I'm back. So it's been like a second or two for you guys, but all in reality, it's been probably a week or two since that last clip, and I kind of got lots done. So let me show you what I've gotten done so far. Now, I had said that I was going to put the motor together. Well, I did, for the most part anyways. Got the power steering pump on, got the alternator on, cut off a few nubs and the harmonic balancer. Got all of that out of the way. The reason I got that all out of the way is because I have all these aluminum pulleys that I am going to put on again. Now, these aluminum pulleys, they are from Off the Sprue. I'll leave a link down in the description. Not a sponsor. I just really love their products, so I keep using them. And I'll promote them in the sense that, you know, if you guys want good products, hey, you know where to go. So anyways, this one is the bottom one. Okay. And then this one, this tiny, tiny one here. Where is it? Right there. If it'll focus. There we go. This tiny one will go on the oil pump. This bigger one here will go on the water pump. That one's not as tight, but that's okay. Once it's glued in, it won't matter. This medium-sized one is going to go on the power steering pump. And then I have another medium-sized one that goes on the alternator. Now I also had to take a medium-sized one and glue it to the front of this one. Okay, now the way this one's set up, you have one groove that goes from the back, from the bottom to the top, to the alternator. Okay, it's hard to show you, but they are lined up. Then you got one that goes from the middle groove to from the top to the bottom. All right. Then you have the third pulley, which goes from there to the power steering. Then I had to add on the fourth one so that it goes from the crank over to the oil pump. Okay. And they all do line up, all in their own ways. Anyway, so that's that. Got all that glued on. I'll take that off and I'll show you some more. Okay, something else I have done is I've made oil siphon tubes that go from the bottom of the oil pan up to the dry sump pump, right? Now, some of this is still loose because I'm not going to glue it all down or all together until everything is completely in its place. Okay, that's where that's at so far. So yeah, if something doesn't look right, it's because it's not glued down yet. Okay, but that's where that's at. As you can see, some of them are still loose. They're just kind of floating around until I get everything all glued into place and painted. Okay, so that's that. Now I still got to make a fourth one that goes from here up to the dry sump tank. And then there's also another one, I believe it goes on the bottom over here. And that is a from the dry sump tank supply. The other one is a return. I'm not quite sure yet exactly because I know somewhere in there I've got to do the oil cooler on the front of the car. So some lines will come from here. I think they go to the dry sump tank. Maybe the one from here at the back goes up to the filter, from the filter to the cooler, from the cooler to the dry sump tank, and then from the dry sump tank back to the pump. I'll have to double check. I've got some schematics for it, but that's that. And I'll have to mount this in the truck, and we'll figure that out here in a bit. So give me a second. I will show you something else. Now, as far as the truck, we'll get into this in a second here. I have ground down the grill. Now the grill was solid at the back all through here, so I've taken my rotary tool with the sanding drum on it and carefully and slowly ground it all down until I could get all of these center pieces out. Okay, so that's that, and I'm going to be using this wire mesh, okay, to go behind it. I'll cut it up and put it in there. So that's that. I'll probably be using some of this and some Detail Master radiator face mesh, and I'll probably end up cutting this out, right, and probably this one as well, depending on where that one gets put. Put radiator face mesh in first, piece of this in behind it, and then another piece of radiator face mesh on the other side, right? And I'll do that for both of them. Now, as for the truck, okay, now you saw this, and I've put the exhaust on, okay. And as you can see, the exhaust is right there, okay. You see that? It comes out right there. Now I may shorten it, I may not. If I don't, I got to fill the tops of the exhaust because they are hollow and meant to be hidden underneath the car, right? But because I've shortened the side of this car a little bit to accommodate for the width of the body, they now stick out a bit. So I'll probably just fill those in so you won't see them. It'll be nice and smooth, top and bottom. Now, I have started doing roll cage in the back. Okay, and I'll take the body off in a second. I have also put on, drilled a hole and used a piece of round flat Lego as the filler hole and a piece of brass tube for the vent tube. Okay, and that's about it that I can show you here, except for I've already bent, and this is just solder. Okay, so I'm just going to put this in real quick here for you, hopefully. So I got the filler tube, and this one here is the vent tube. Hopefully I can get this in for her. Not too much trouble. So since the solder is real easy to bend and can be super glued and can be painted, so there is what that looks like. Okay, so once all that's all painted, you know, it goes up to the corner of the truck. I'll make, probably end up making some sort of pieces here to make it look like it's mounted and bracketed. Probably the same thing down here in the bottom, especially on the vent tube that sits up a little higher. You know, it kind of sits up off the tank a bit. But that's the way that looks. Okay. So I'm going to take those out and I'm going to pull the body off, and we'll show you where the actual cage and the firewall. Now, maybe before I show you that, here is what used to be the sides of the roll cage for the car. Now, you know that I cut the back of the cab off and stuff. This here actually fits right inside with no problems, just like so. It also sits below the box, as you can see there. It sits below the box. All right. Now, if you look inside, it maybe, if you can, try and get some light here for you. You can see where the roll cage is, right back here. You can see that there, where the top of it is. It's all below. So now you can see what I mean by I had to cut this piece off, because this would have sat right there, and that's not going to work. So I got to build my top bar down. But as you can see, I mean, everything clears just beautifully. This one fell out of place here. Let me move that. But everything is sitting right where it needs to be. You can kind of see the firewall in there. I'll show you that in a minute. But anyways, yeah, everything is sitting just beautifully. This thing is very nice to put together, considering they're not supposed to be together. Now, I did make a shim like I said I was going to for the box, because it was sitting a little low. And as you can see right here, I did a shim, put an extra shim in, right? And I'll trim that later, and you won't see it anyway, so it's part of the box cover. But I also put two tiny little blocks glued to the top rail underneath, and that locks this in. You see that there? So that locks it in nice and neat. Body can't move back and forth. So I'm going to, like I said, pull this body off, and I will show you the back cage and the firewall. Okay, so for the truck firewall, obviously I've cut it nice and flat, right? I've also cut out the inner fenders, like I said I was going to, and they're nicely straight across now with a little bit going down the side, which isn't a big deal. Both of those are done. But I also needed to make a notch here to be able to clear the engine a bit. Don't lose any of those wires. I forgot to take them off. But anyways, so I needed to clear that engine, as you can see there, right? So I needed to clear that engine, so I had to notch this out. And I just found a piece of plastic that I had that was kind of almost like a box, really. Trimmed it off. There's another piece of it right here. This was on here like this, you know, just a piece of a box. So I cut it out where I needed it. Just happened to be the right size, and away you go. Now I still got to fill in these hinges here, where the hinges of the hood go, right? These here, they go in there, like so. Okay. These are coming off. I have some photo etched stock car hinges that I'm going to use. I still don't know about these window vents yet. We'll see how that goes. I got a ways to go yet for that. Oh, something else I've done is, let me zoom in there for you. I've also cut these all out. These were solid plastic in there. All they had was a small indent to indicate that those are little holes. Well, now I've cut them out, so they go straight through. I'll probably end up putting some sort of mesh back there. I still got to clean this one up a little bit. It's a little off. And but yeah, so I'll probably put a little piece of mesh back there. So that's what that's at. Okay. Like I said, tailgates, nothing much else has changed. I haven't decided on what I'm going to do about the radius of the wheels yet. If I want to actually cut this lip off and raise it, or if I'm just going to cut it out like they would have back in the 70s and 80s, right? When they were still running basically a stock body, right? So we'll get that figured out. Put that aside for a sec. Now, I have done up this firewall here, okay, notched it out for that box, shaped it for the side. Now, I still got to do a bit of sanding and stuff, but once I got this glued on along the floor, I then took a piece of thinner styrene sheet, heated it up and curved it, and then shaped it so it would fit between the factory floor pan transmission tunnel and the new firewall, right? Because this is the one that's supposed to be on there, and that would have been more upright. The firewall would have been more upright, not angled and then straight like it is there. So that would have all your, your master cylinders and everything, your coil. So I've glued those on, and there were still some gaps and stuff. So I used super glue to make the bonds stronger, but also I put on baking soda. Now, baking soda and super glue, as you know, or CA glue, actually creates its own type of plastic when you mix the two together. So not only does it fill gaps good, but it actually joins the two pieces of plastic with a type of plastic. So your bond is even stronger. So once I get this sanded down some more, I got a small gap here I got to do up right there. Now I also did it on the underside, so I got a sand under here as well. So I went across here, went across this section here, and across there. Right, so once I get all that sanded and smoothed out, I may have to touch it up in a few spots, and we'll go from there. Now, as for the back cage, let me zoom in just a little bit for you. There you go. So you knew I already had this bar on here to help space out the body off of the, up to the right height. But it needed a little bit more. So as you can see sitting right there, there is another set of spacers. So I'll trim this stuff up and make it all nice and neat and clean. But from there, I took some styrene rod, and I don't remember exactly what size, but I went from that support where it supports on the box and went down and around, right, level with the floor, or actually just a little bit below the floor, as you can see there, right, just a little bit below the floor and back up to that spot. Then from there, I made one that went up just about, I don't know, a 1/16 below the top of the tailgate, went straight across and back down. Put a center bar in there, and then from there, I did about 1/8 of an inch in from the corner, went straight across. Now I'll probably end up putting some sort of X brace or something in here, maybe, I'm not sure. But the way I did this and the way I planned these ones is that the ones that come through the back window will line up right on these ones. That's what I'm hoping anyways. So if that works out right, that'll go up there, go up to the top of the halo, so everything is structurally sound. If this was hit from behind, that would push on that, and that would go through the back brace there, and then down to the roll cage and everything else. Now these here technically would have, bars going down to the chassis frame underneath, right, up under your box tube frame and going down. So that would be roughly right about here, right? Now I could probably try to simulate that, maybe find a couple small pieces of tubing, kind of like so, just a little piece, and fit that in there, kind of like so, and I may just do that. So that's where that's at, and, still lots to do. And like I said, these parts here, obviously this was square on the model like it's supposed to be because of the style of the firewall, right? This is supposed to be, I think, something like this. So now I had to cut this as an angle, and as you can see, I'm almost got it pretty much bang on. No, you can't see. There. Now, as you can see, I've got it almost bang on. Sorry if I was out of frame, I wasn't watching. But anyways, that's that. Now again, this back cross brace would normally be, side to side right here kind of thing, right? And I'm trying to show you, there we go. And then this piece would be tied into that, right? Well, now I've cut these off, so I'm going to have to cut this one off and this one, and probably this piece here, so that I can glue this in between because it still fits properly. But when I build my new one of these up higher, this will be higher, so it'll end up closer like this, and it'll be more straight up and down. So I'll have to make this one longer to be able to go from here to there at the same height, probably as long as this. And then from this one, I'll have to make a new one going from that point to this point here. Okay, so there's still a bunch of customizing to do yet, but it is coming along, and it's coming along pretty damn good, I think, right? Everything just seems to fit properly, and it's falling into place very easily. Now, the radiator, I have more than enough room to put the radiator in. I've got to build some sort of mount for the oil cooler. I may put that right here. I'm not quite sure yet. Maybe I'll just change it up and put it right up front or something, right? Which would fit nicely in a sense, right? Put it up front here, and obviously put it up higher, and then you'd be able to see right through the grill, because these ones will be see-through, and you see through that one, and you'll see through that one. Probably not very well by the time you get that far, but if you can see all the way through, you'll see a bit of the front of the engine. Now, something else I planned on, I know I said I was going to cover the box, but I'm thinking now where this sits in relation to, I can't put it all the way on, it takes a bit of finagling, but in relation to this bar here, I'm thinking I'll probably permanently glue that half of the box cover in and make some sort of hinge so that this piece, this half of it from here to here, can actually lift up and you can see the detail inside. That's what I'm thinking, because trying to make the whole thing lift up with these two bars in here is probably going to be way too hard, and there's nothing under there that you would really need to be able to lift this up to do anything. If there's a problem on the track or something, they can lift this section up to a couple hood pins, maybe 3 or 4 kind of thing, right? And they can access that section. Now, same thing with the hood. I mean, that's just NASCAR hood hinges and everything else. And that's about it for now. So if you're liking this type of build, and you know, this is the appreciation build for Fred Henry, definitely go check out his channel. He's got some excellent tutorials on there and just does wicked builds, period. You know, go check him out. And if you like this type of stuff, what I'm doing, hey, you know, if you don't mind, give it a thumbs up. You know, it's free. And maybe hit that subscribe button too. You know, that'd be much appreciated. That helps out the channel immensely. Thank you very much to all my subscribers. If you're a new subscriber here, thank you to you as well. Now, if you don't want to miss any videos like this in the 30 Ford Model A that I'm building, which has got lots coming, and soon, my logo car. There's another video coming out on that here pretty quickly for the complete introduction of that car and what I'm doing. Make sure you stay tuned for that. You don't want to miss it. Hit that bell icon for me, please. Also, down in the description, I'll have my Facebook group, my Instagram, links down there. So if you want to give them a follow, you'll get update pictures through there as well. And come have some fun on the Facebook group and everything else. Share what you're doing. I also have a PayPal Me link down there. So if you feel that you want to help out this channel in some way, you know, you're more than welcome to. It will all go back into the channel for buying more models, more paint, product, whatever. But it all goes back into the channel. So with all that being said, it all comes down to just do it your way. And until then, later.